What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's get into it. Quita in the Morning starts now.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Ready, set, go.
Here at WNBA, as you know, they're calling for players in the WNBA are calling for more money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly 50% of the revenue of NBA players. Should they be getting a larger share of the revenue in the WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think the share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
So, when NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was asked yesterday on NBC if WNBA players should get a bigger share of league revenue, he said, yeah, but actually share is not the right way to look at it. Translation, meaning, y'all WNBA players might as well stop asking for rev sharing because y'all are not getting it. Because here's the deal. This is not just a random quote from a random guy. This is a very specific quote, and it's about a man who has a ton of power over the future of WNBA players. Now, you all may ask, well, doesn't the WNBA have a leader? Yes. Isn't her name Cathy Engelbert? Yes. Hasn't she been involved in the various negotiations so far for players? Yes. But here's the key thing about Cathy Engelbert, guys.
What role is Adam Silver playing in the CBA negotiation?
Again, Adam has been a great supporter of mine through, he was the one who had the idea to have a commissioner reporting to the Board of Governors, the owners, Adam, of course, I give him updates periodically, but he's not in the bargaining room. It's me and my team and our negotiators and our lawyers and their staff at the PA, and then sometimes players, sometimes not in the meetings. But I give Adam periodic updates, and he's been very supportive of.
What role is Adam Silver playing in the CBA negotiation?
Again, Adam has been a great supporter of mine through, he was the one who had the idea to have a commissioner reporting to the Board of Governors, the owners, Adam, of course, I give him updates periodically, but he's not in the bargaining room. It's me and my team and our negotiators and our lawyers and their staff at the PA, and then sometimes players, sometimes not in the meetings. But I give Adam periodic updates, and he's been very supportive of how we're thinking about, the substantial increase in player salaries and benefits. And by the way, there's 30 other things as part of the CBA, but I realize the number one thing the players are focused on, which is why I have been listening, is increases in salaries and benefits.
So that was Cathy Engelbert at the beginning of the WNBA finals, basically saying that, yes, Adam Silver is not involved in the CBA negotiations, but she does keep him up to date. Now, a thing to note that she also mentioned in there is that, hey, here's the thing. The position that Cathy Engelbert sits in only exists because of Adam Silver. Adam Silver hired Cathy Engelbert, right? And Cathy Engelbert reports to Adam Silver. So while he's not in the meetings day to day, you can bet your bottom dollar that his voice is being reflected in Cathy. So yeah, he's not, as she said, he's not in the bargaining room. It's Cathy and her team. She gives him periodic updates. He's been very supportive. That sounds very, very nice. But again, read between the lines. She literally is in a position that he created. He hired her. She reports to him. And the NBA owns 42% of the WNBA. The NBA, which Adam Silver runs, owns 40% of the league, which she is in charge of basically as a subsidiary of the NBA, I should say. Actually, it's even more of a glaring thing when you actually factor in team owners who are also WNBA team owners who are also NBA owners as well, right? Look at Joe Tsai with the Liberty and the Nets, the New York Liberty, Brooklyn Nets. You look at Matt Ishbia, who owns the Phoenix Mercury and the Phoenix Suns. You go down the list. There's a lot of commingling of WNBA players who are also NBA owners. So that 42% goes from 42% to a whole lot more when you factor that in, right? So sure, Kathy might be sitting at the negotiation table, but yeah, Adam Silver is standing behind her, hand on her shoulder, basically whispering to her what she can and cannot agree to. Because here's the deal. Let's be truly real. If revenue sharing was actually on the table, Adam Silver is the one who would have signed off on it. And his idea that actually it's not really about rev sharing, it's actually about a substantial increase in revenue, in player salary. Because of the comments, it seems like he's already made the call, and he is the one who's putting a kibosh on the idea that a substantial revenue sharing model could actually make a difference. Now, I kind of hinted on it, but to fully understand the structure even more, I do want to show this graphic about who really owns the WNBA. Because spoiler alert, it's not the WNBA teams. The WNBA is co-owned by 3 parties. 42% is owned by the NBA as a league. 42% is owned by WNBA team owners. And 16% belongs to a 2022 investment group that involved a whole bunch of individuals. That means that the NBA, the league that Adam Silver runs, controls nearly half of the WNBA outright. He's not just an advisor, right? The NBA is a co-owner of the WNBA. So when he talks about what players deserve, this is not a random man giving a random opinion. He's basically setting policy going forward for the WNBA, right? And again, when you look at the overlap of WNBA team owners and NBA team owners, like that 42% is going up substantially. Substantially. Sai is asking, what do you mean by 42% NBA? Do you mean NBA owners also own WNBA? So here's the thing. The NBA is 100% owned by its teams. Hopefully that makes sense. The NBA is fully owned by its teams. Right? So all, I believe 30 teams in the NBA right now, they are all co-owners of the NBA. Right? So it's basically like 30 different pieces of the pie that makes up a full pie of the NBA. So 100% of the NBA is owned by its team owners. The WNBA, that's not the case. Because the NBA as a whole, meaning which is the full 30 owners of the NBA, they own 42% of the WNBA. The other 42% is owned by WNBA team owners. And then the other 16% is a separate investment group. So the point is, the WNBA does not own itself outright, whereas the NBA owns itself outright. Right? And that ownership issue is absolutely a thing. So when Kathy Engelbert says that she reports to the Board of Governors, well, yes, the WNBA does have its own Board of Governors, which features a lot of NBA owners. She also reports to Adam Silver, who, again, hired her. So this means that every major decision, media deals, expansion, salary cap growth, rev sharing, it's all filtered through the structure that the NBA controls. Kathy Engelbert might have the title of commissioner, but she does not have the same autonomy that Adam Silver has. Adam Silver runs a league. He runs the NBA. And Kathy Engelbert reports to him, and she basically runs a subdivision of that league, which is the WNBA. Right? The WNBA technically is its own organization, but really with the way the ownership structure works, it's basically a subdivision of the WNBA, of the NBA, I should say. That's all the WNBA is. That's all it is. So when he says rev sharing isn't the right way to look at things, it's an official stance by the entity that owns the WNBA. Right? And so that's why that 16% matters so much. It matters because the NBA's collective bargaining system gives players roughly 50% of all basketball-related income, right? That's ticket sales, that's TV deals, that's sponsorship revenue, you name it. They're getting roughly 50%. The NBA players are getting roughly 50%. They can do that because, as I said earlier, the 30 NBA teams jointly own the league outright. And so with full ownership, they have more ability to make things happen with the financials because they take all of the profit for what happens in the NBA. And so they're able to spread it out more to its players. Right? The WNBA, well, the players are getting around 9%, not 50%, 9% of league revenue. And it's not tied to how the league performs at all. There is no sort of automatic percentage of league revenue that the WNBA gets. The salary cap is set by the CBA, and it increases by a fixed number each and every year. This is why this conversation is hitting a nerve with WNBA players. WNBA players are literally driving record growth, record viewership, record attendance, jersey sales, all of it. But none of it actually translates into direct earnings for players. Right? If there's any upside to be had, WNBA team owners takes that, and NBA takes that, and the investor group takes that. Right? Players just get incremental bumps as defined by the CBA. And yes, there is going to be a substantial increase in revenue for WNBA players this year, but it's not going to be as much as it would be if players had X amount of percentage of rev share. So when Kathy Engelbert, when Adam Silver talks about substantial increases in salary and benefits, that's not the same thing as revenue sharing. It's a one-time adjustment to keep players quiet, not a long-term partnership that could create future success and future-proof the WNBA. More on that in just a sec. Here's the thing. Adam Silver knows that. The team owners know that, and that's why he's trying to control the narrative. This is the second day in a row I forgot about this alarm. The second day in a row, guys. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I lost my train of thought already. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, the owners and Adam Silver, they are saying, hey, look at the numbers, not the percentage. Because the minute you talk about percentages, you're talking about power and control. And that's a conversation that the NBA has no interest in having. So let's be fair about something that's really important. The WNBA is in this position for a reason, right? The WNBA is finally able to stand on its own, but that's very recent. For decades, the NBA had to carry the WNBA financially and structurally. The WNBA literally would not exist without the NBA's infrastructure and finances year after year after year for decades, sustaining this league. From media rights deals to marketing to sharing arena space, the NBA helped to keep the lights on in the WNBA when there was no profit in sight. So yes, it is understandable that the NBA has its thumb on the WNBA. They built it, they paid for it, they stabilized it. Now, the WNBA is soaring. And now, players are like, that model that existed before, yeah, nah. We want something different. Because here's the problem. The same structure that created, protected the WNBA is now, in my opinion, restricting it. The league's in its strongest position ever. Again, rising attendance, record TV ratings, cultural relevance at an all-time high. Right? It's great. The league is growing and it's doing well. And yet, it does not have full control over its future. If the WNBA really wanted real freedom, which I think would be best, freedom to set its own salary models, expansion pace, media strategy, it really does need to start buying back control over the league. This means figuring out a way to buy out of that 16% investment group, which at the time seemed like a good deal. Now, in hindsight, seems like a horrible deal. The WNBA needs to look into buying back portions of the NBA ownership. Because as long as the NBA is the majority voice in the room, there will always be a ceiling on what the WNBA can decide for itself. Right? And so, yes, the WNBA is and should be very grateful to the NBA for supporting it and for doing all that, for carrying this league for as long as it did. That's awesome and much appreciated. But at some point, the WNBA has to say, we love it, we appreciate it, thank you, but we're going to start to buy back, or actually not even buy back, buy for the first time, our share away from the NBA. Now, of course, that's going to be a lot of money, a whole lot of money. Does the WNBA have it in them to do it? No, but they should, because competition is coming. More on that in just a sec. Because this is where it all gets complicated for Cathy Engelbert, because yes, she is the commissioner of the WNBA, but her power has limits, right? The WNBA, yeah, as I said, has its own board of governors. But let's not act like the board operates in a vacuum, right? Tons of ties to NBA franchises, and of course, the NBA structure kind of funds a lot of what the WNBA does. Technically, yeah, Adam Silver is not in the WNBA's boardroom or at the bargaining table, but the NBA still owns 40% of the WNBA, and that means Adam Silver's voice echoes in every major decision. His office still, they're signing off on big deals related to the WNBA, right? So even though Cathy Engelbert runs the league day to day, she has to operate within a framework shaped and controlled by the NBA, right? That's what makes her job such a tightrope. She's trying to prove the WNBA can stand on its own while still relying on the NBA's infrastructure to scale. right? She has to convince players that she's advocating for them while also convincing the NBA team owners and the separate investment group that she is keeping costs in check and she's trying to ensure that they get a significant return on their investment. And all these goals, they don't always align, which is why she's in a not so great area right now, right? So yes, substantial increase in salaries and benefits, but no to revenue sharing. And so that's why the WNBPA called out Adam Silver's message. They ended up posting on Instagram saying, don't want to share Adam Silver. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't want to share. WNBPA, he does not want to share at all. He doesn't. The players know that the NBA has a 42% stake in the WNBA. And they know that hangs over every negotiation. They know that Kathy can't make structural promises without the NBA's blessing. And that's why they're starting to look beyond the league itself for leverage. Because if the WNBA won't share power, then maybe players will start building something of their own. You talk about players, putting the power in their own hands. This is what it looks like. First came Athletes Unlimited, first of all. That is an off-season league in the United States. That is a 5-on-5 league that is doing well, and they're growing and all that good jazz. Then came Unrivaled, created by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. It's a U.S.-based winter league that's focused on 3-on-3. So not 5-on-5, 3-on-3. They also have a 1-on-1 component as well, where founding players of the league actually have equity stake in the league itself, right? This is a short form league that lasts just a couple of months. It's very sponsor friendly. It's player controlled, and it's a model that the WNBA has never had. The WNBA had an opportunity to buy in on it early. They decided not to, and Unrivaled moves on. Unrivaled gave its founding players ownership, not just contracts. Yes, the league is small now, but every partner it signs, every viewer it draws is a message to the WNBA that the athletes themselves are the product. And they can sell that product without the middleman of the WNBA. And then there's Project B, which is a whole different beast, right? It's going to be likely launching in the fall of 2026. It will be a women's league at first, but eventually they probably will have a men's component as well. It's going to have 6 teams, and the players are going to be competing in 7 2-week tournaments across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. It's really just a global traveling tour of sorts. There is no home arena for the season. You can kind of think of it as it's like the Champions League, or like the idea that I'm kind of thinking, it's like the Champions League plus Formula One travel. So Champions League is like the best of the best players in the world are competing in this thing, but Formula One logistics, meaning they're going to various sites and spending a lot of time in one spot and then moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. Interesting model, right? And they're saying, hey, this is going to likely run from November through April. It's going to avoid the WNBA's summer calendar, but it will overlap with Unrivaled. And so players won't be able to do both Unrivaled and whatever ultimately the Project B name is. In other words, the point of me talking about this is that players have choices. Multiple. Because we already know Unrivaled is paying players $200,000+ just to play for a couple months. Project B is reportedly going to be giving salaries that are multiples higher than the WNBA. We don't know the exact number at all, but supposedly it's multiples and multiples of what WNBA players are getting now in the WNBA. The point of me talking about this is to say, and also there may be some equity in there for Project B. So like that's the thing. In other words, the point of me talking about this is that players have choices. In the next 2 years, there will be multiple leagues vying for the same exact talent, the same exact sponsors, the same exact global eyeballs. And the money? Yeah. The money's going to be there. Again, Project B is promising salaries multiples higher than what WNBA players make, plus a possible equity stake, just like startup employees get, right? Unrivaled is already giving players a lot of money, right? And for Project B, supposedly talks are underway with WNBA players, and some players have even signed with Project B. Now, if Project B could actually turn out to be a huge success, it could pull top talent away, not only from overseas clubs, but from the WNBA itself. And so even though it's going to be happening during the WNBA offseason, you can't tell me that some players would be like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to play in the WNBA, and I'm just going to do Project B, or I'm just going to do Unrivaled. It's going to get to this point. This is the shift that is happening right under the league's nose. While the WNBA is debating about rev sharing and should you really give players X amount of money and blah, 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 ultimately they're debating over control and how much of that the NBA should keep and whatnot. Its players, the WNBA players and others are building brand new women's basketball ecosystems. Ones where they call the shots, they set the pay, and they own the upside. Yeah, that's a big stinking deal. So yes, Adam Silver can keep saying, oh, rev share isn't the right way to look at it, but let's be real. At the end of the day, rev share might not matter to the WNBA and the NBA right now, but in the future, not having a rev share agreement could be detrimental to the league. Because whoever gives players the biggest cuts, the biggest share of the pie, well, that one's going to win. They're going to win. And right now, it's starting to look like the WNBA might eventually be the lowest bidder in its own sport. Yeah. It's a big, big deal. Unrivaled has already given players equity stake, and they're paying players a lot of money. Project B is offering huge salaries and giving them a whole bunch of freedom, flexibility, and amazing travel at that. Meanwhile, the WNBA is still tied to an NBA revenue structure that caps players' earnings at currently as less than 10% of league income. The gap between what the WNBA is offering players to what Unrivaled's offering players to what supposedly Project B is offering players, it's not just a symbolic gap. It's a financial gulf. If one league offers partnership, equity, and a growth plan, and another league offers a fixed paycheck, players are eventually going to follow the money and the model that they feel respects their value. The WNBA cannot keep relying on goodwill or loyalty of WNBA players. Now, in years past, yes, that has been a thing where even though players are playing overseas for months and months and months, and that was their real job, they still came over and played for the WNBA because they wanted to grow women's basketball in America. Newsflash, I don't know if you all know this, but women's basketball in America has grown. It's already arrived. And so these new crop of players are not going to have that same loyalty to the WNBA. And the WNBA has to eventually get that out of their minds. Because if the WNBA wants to stay competitive, it's going to have to start sharing revenue, decision-making, and long-term upside. Because otherwise, this new competition is going to come in and take their lunch. Because the league has a league that's already, the WNBA is a league that's finally found its footing. But it could lose its best players to the highest bidder. Not because they want to leave, but because the system didn't give them a reason to stay. And the system is being created by the CBA, which they are currently negotiating out of. So yes, Adam Silver is right about one thing. Yes, the WNBA is going to see big increases. The question is, how will players feel about that in the long run? Or will they stay in the WNBA for 3, 4, 5 years to come? Or after an agreement is made, a year or two down the road, might they say, actually, I think I want to play for Unrivaled full time. They're offering me more money and more value. Players might say, actually, I'm going to go ahead and do this Project B thing. I want to travel the world. I want to make a lot of money. And I want to have a good time. And I don't think the WNBA can offer me that. Right? This is a real thing. And I wanted to just do a pretty deep dive talking about it because I think this is important. Because you're going to have a situation in about 2 years where you're going to have multiple leagues that play in America, multiple high competitive leagues that play in America. Of course, you got Athletes Unlimited already. You got Unrivaled. You have the Upshot League. You have lots of stuff that is starting. And then you have Project B that won't be in America full time, but will partially be in America. Right? If the WNBA isn't careful, it's going to start looking like a Jet 2 holiday. If they're not careful. And so this is why I think ref sharing is a bigger deal than what people are thinking. Sure, in the short term, not a big deal. Not a big deal. In the long term, this could be detrimental. Fully detrimental. We'll see what happens. We will absolutely see what happens. Right now, they're not worried, but they should be. Right now, the WNBA is the biggest team in the biggest league in town. Absolutely. But yeah. OMR says not enough talent for multiple leagues. Someone will emerge the winner. Yeah. And if the WNBA is not careful, I think this is going to be tough. This is going to be very tough. Very, very, very tough. Right? Shamika says Unrivaled needs a 5-on-5 format as well. I think eventually they'll move to 5-on-5. Eventually, I do think they will. Robin says this is great reporting about the story. Love Quita in the morning for learning. Thank you so much. I appreciate you rocking out with me. I really do. Thank you. This has been a fun story to work on for sure. Tisha says, yes, they are already making more in college. The minimum is not going to entice them to be loyal to the WNBA. The internet was not the AOL. The original W started with, they arrive with millions of fans. Yeah. And in some cases, millions of dollars in their pocket for them to play for chump change. Even if the rookie minimum increases to 100,000, 150. Still, Not going to be enough. Shamika says WNBA is the fastest growing league in the country. It is. It is. But also, when you start resting on your laurels, your lunch is going to get eaten. And I feel like the WNBA is starting to do that. All right. Henry says only FIBA sanctioned leagues matter. WNBA, EuroLeague, etc. Here's the thing. Who's to say this Project B league won't be sanctioned by FIBA? And also, do players totally care? Do they totally care if it's sanctioned by FIBA? For 5-on-5? You can take it or leave it. You can take it or leave it. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I got for today. A shorter show today because I got to run. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think about the stream. Let me know what y'all think about the topic. Yeah. And what are your thoughts? Is Project B and Unrivaled eventually going to take the WNBA's lunch? Will the WNBA be fine? Am I thinking too much about this? Am I worrying too much about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I will see y'all in the next one. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Are you ready?
Ready, set.